Hi, I'm Auris Estrella Solares and welcome. We are going to be talking about dream retention, dream magic, dream lucidity. I'm going to be sharing with you spells and ceremonies and rituals that I have learned along the way. So if any of them resonate with you, feel free to take them and customize them to your own fashion, but whatever doesn't resonate, just compost it, leave it to the side. You don't have to accept everything. If you take nothing away from this, then that's okay as well. I'm simply sharing this to help anyone who maybe wants to cultivate a deeper relationship with themselves and their dreams and their psychic gifts and their intuition. So dreams are not just dreams. Of course, they are our psyche trying to make sense of our life experiences, but more than that, dreams are a space where we can receive guidance and messages from our ancestors, our higher self, Allah, and of course our intuition, of course our psyche. They are endless springs that can bring forth exactly the information and wisdom that we might need in any moment in time, depending on what you're going through. I think that in our dreams is also where we can tap into our authenticity and our imagination and our creativity. So to neglect this aspect of our being and this aspect of our life, I think is doing a huge disservice to ourselves. If you're curious to start remembering your dreams more, we'll dive in now. So let's say that you're someone who doesn't really remember their dreams all that well or never. A spell that I like to do, which is super practical, is taking a glass of water before falling asleep and placing it on my bedside table. It's been proven that water molecules can hold energy and intention. And so I like to pray over the water, and I'll say something along the lines of, while I sleep, hold the memory of my dreams for me. And in the morning when I wake and I take a sip of you, I will be flooded with that remembrance. Whatever floats your boat. I say something different every time, but at the core of it, that's the spell. So while you're dreaming, the water can hold that for you because energetically it's picking up on that. The next day, you take your sip of water and write down whatever it is that you remember. So you may not remember the dream in full. As a matter of fact, maybe you just remember one detail, but that's a start. You want to do this as often as you'd like, if not, forever, until you feel like you have a good grasp of being able to remember your dreams. I like to do this every now and again once I've just not been remembering anything at all, but you can make this a part of your daily practice as well. Another element to dream remembrance I've already mentioned is writing them down. And you don't have to have like a fancy dream journal for this. You can literally use an app on your phone, whatever's easiest for you. And if at first it's only one or two details, that is okay, because the more that you start to do this, the more information that you'll be able to retrieve and jot down. Before you realize it, maybe at first you could only write a sentence of what you remembered from your dreams, and now you're writing novels, as is the case for me oftentimes. And now you're in business. Now you're able to really explore what's happening every morning when you wake up. So now that you have the ball rolling on dream recall, you can start to work with your dream realm a little bit deeper. So this is dream divination, what I'm going to share with you now. I want to emphasize that this is a process that you want to approach with reverence and respect, patience, and trust, because that is how you will get the most out of it. But at the very root of it, it's also how you want to approach yourself, because this is you working with yourself here. So although your psyche is not this external entity, you still want to, make this process as grounded and as sacred as possible, because you're just going to get more out of it. So if you have been going through something in life that you are just feeling confused about, or it's troubling you, you can ask your dreams to show you the answer to whatever question you might have. The key to this is to give yourself a window of time from which you can collect your answers. So what you'll do, what I like to do, is every time I want to ask my psyche a question, I will sit with what it is that I want to ask and I'll write that down. And then when I'm ready to ask it that evening, I will have a ceremony of sorts. Maybe I do some yoga, have some tea, do some anointing, whatever. More than anything, you just want it to really mark the beginning of this process. You want it to feel sacred and safe. And then I will go to bed, and out loud, I will just talk with myself. I'll pray about what it is that I'm experiencing. I'll tell my psyche, XYZ, this is what I'm going through, and this is my question. Please show me what I most need to know, or please answer this question within the next couple of nights and guide me. Now, the reason I say the next couple of nights is because the wider the time frame that you set for yourself to collect information from your dreams, obviously the more information that you'll have to formulate your answer. And also, if you try to get an answer from just one night and you say, by tomorrow morning, give me the answer that I want, sure, you can do that, but you might psych yourself out and you may have a fever dream because you're applying pressure to have this perfect answer to your question, or you may not remember anything. And so I like to usually do a window of 3 nights or 7 nights, depending on how elaborate my question is. But for sure, I won't limit it to 1 night. And so, yeah, you can pair this up with the dream water spell, and every morning just write down what you dream. You don't have to analyze it just yet, but once you get to the end of that time window, you can have another ceremony of sorts. It can be like a closing ceremony. Again, do something that feels just like special and safe. Maybe say thank you to yourself and thank you to the universe or Allah, whatever you want to call it. And as you go to bed that night, thank your psyche and prepare for that last dream to kind of seal that question. And the following morning, you can revisit the original question and look at the answers, or read every dream that you've had since, and then you can kind of formulate what the response is. This has been such a fun and playful way for me to just get guidance on life directions or solving problems that I'm having in life, maybe even healing wounds, because a big element to dreaming isn't just this fantastical, surreal, sort of playful realm. It's also a space that reveals to us our traumas and our wounds and things that we need to improve within ourselves that just aren't helpful in day-to-day life. And so I don't want you to be afraid of that. I think that's something that we can lean into with curiosity and courage and a lot of compassion for ourselves. Whilst it may not be always fun or easy, it's showing up for a reason in our dreams. So I will use myself as an example. I have a recurring nightmare, and in this nightmare, I always do a certain thing that is basically running away from something. I started to just do the opposite in my dreams. I started to go towards the thing that I was running from, and I had such a moment of, I just had a huge epiphany about what the meaning of that was. And when I woke up, it made so much sense about something that I was experiencing, and I just came to understand myself on a whole new level. I do just want to drive home that this can be really healing work with a lot of medicine, and it's not always a smooth ride. It can be kind of bumpy, but take it at your own pace and know that you are safe to do this, and that of course you are discovering ways to source within yourself the answers, but obviously still reach out to your external support groups and your community and friends and family and loved ones. It's meant to work in tandem. It's not meant to replace. Now we've arrived to dream lucidity. And honestly, dream lucidity can happen at any point in this process. It's basically when you become awake in the dream. Say you are in the middle of a nightmare and all of a sudden you say, okay, wait, I'm dreaming right now, and you can consciously create an exit for yourself in the dream where maybe you change the scenery and all of a sudden you're in a garden and you're not in that nightmare anymore. You can fly, you can do whatever you want really, because you are now on the steering wheel. You're no longer in the passenger seat with just your subconscious driving. So it's really fascinating experience, and sometimes it happens by accident. That's sort of how I started to do it. But if you want to do this intentionally, what I like to do is sort of meditate until I fall asleep. The reason for this is I think that the practice of mindfulness happening right before your sleeping state really puts the brain already in that sort of mode, and it makes it easier for you to be conscious in the dream. So whatever kind of meditation works best for you, I literally just follow my breath. I pretend that I have a white dot of light to represent my inhale and another dot of light to represent my exhale, and I pretend that I'm running from one to the other, or maybe just like flowing from one to the other. It's kind of a visual meditation, and I'll do that until I doze off. And I don't always gain lucidity from that, but I set the intention. So maybe before falling asleep, I'll say, I set the intention that I will lucid dream tonight. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen. Again, a lot of this takes practice and time and patience, but so long as you start, you will eventually get there. And so that can also just be a really amazing place to source a lot of imagination from, and creativity and empowerment as well. If life is ever feeling dull and gray or mundane, then it just injects it with possibilities and optimism and hope that you can then share with your community. It's so life-bringing. Dreams are there for a reason, and I think that it goes beyond just our mind trying to make sense of things. So I hope that this has been helpful, and again, take what resonates and compost the rest. If you try any of these methods and you have a really cool experience, please feel free to share it. Or if you have your own spells and ceremonies that work for you that you want to share, I'd be so curious to hear. I really tried to make the ones that I shared as bare bones as possible, because obviously I've customized them to what works for me. That way you can kind of customize them to what works for you, but at the essence of this conversation, I think that these 3 things can serve as a good foundation for you to build upon. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm wishing you really sweet spells and deep dreaming and lively lucidity. Hasta luego. Adiós.